et que le vent fasse tourner avec puisse marin d'un air joyeux, si louvoyer n'est pas notre compte. Il faut aller, il faut aller, il faut aller voir naviguer sur la Manche en profitant du vent.
That song. What is that song? It reminds me of an old New England sea chanty, one my grandfather used to sing.
You are right, it is a song of the sea, but it was born here, in France. It tells of our fishermen sailing away to distant shores whenever the wind blows strong from the east.
This is Honfleur. It was once a nest of pirates and privateers who shared their booty with the King of France.
And this coast is still rich in saints and legends. King Arthur and his knights came searching here for the Holy Grail.
You know, a sailor's work, like a housewife's, is never done. But once the waiting for time and tide is over, the priest will bless our boats for the long voyage to the codfish banks of Newfoundland.
We who stay behind, the women, the young folks and the old ones, we keep our small farms green. We never throw anything away.
We refuse to part with old friends. We'd rather mend an old tool and give it a new life than toss it on the scrap heap. In our country, we are used to living in several centuries at the same time.
A meal is best planned in the marketplace. The French philosopher of cooking, Brillat-Savarin, said that no woman should be allowed to marry before she has learned to prepare a perfect soup. Or, I think, a sausage. I must remember to keep out a little something for flowers. The eye as well as the palate must be pleased.
The French flag itself is a bouquet. Blue for the cornflower, white for the daisy, red for the poppy. The garden of France is what our poets call the valley of the Loire, fragrant with sunburst greengage plums and the pears, of which Rabelais exclaimed, surely there will be none more luscious in paradise.
Villandry. The intricate formality of Renaissance shrubs clipped to the musical measures of Rameau.
The hands of peasant masons raised the slender towers of Azay-le-Rideau. Leonardo da Vinci himself may have been consulted on the design.
But there was no architect, and it was a woman, Philippe Le Bailly, who directed the construction of the castle from day to day.
At Blois, on a bleak winter night near Christmas in 1588, King Henri's guards murdered the Duc de Guise, who had been plotting to seize the throne, while two monks prayed nearby. King Henri kicked the dead duke and muttered, He looks even bigger dead than he did alive.
The king's mother, Catherine de Medici, had taken part in the plot against her own son, for Catherine was a very bitter woman. Her husband had given away this jewel of Chenonceau to her rival, Diane de Poitiers. But as soon as her husband died, she drove Diane out and held sumptuous entertainments here, the ladies of the court playing mermaid.
Le Pont d'Avignon, the broken bridge of my childhood, crosses straight into the 14th century and the Palace of the Popes. Roman legions came and conquered the Gauls and built the Pont du Gard with stones weighing up to 6 tons each. The upper level was an aqueduct carrying filtered water from the mountains. The 2 lower tiers were roads for foot soldiers and horse-drawn chariots.
Along this road, 100,000 Roman soldiers fell in battle. Julius Caesar celebrated his victory by building an Arch of Triumph, 2,000 years before Napoleon was to build his in Paris.
Here at Nîmes, gladiators and Christian martyrs fought wild beasts for the glory of the Caesars and the amusement of a mob of 20,000. The men died, and the monuments lived.
Their descendants still play boule, boasting that they inherited the game from the ancient Phoenicians who founded the nearby harbor of Marseille. Here in Provence, a man's house is not just his castle, it is his fortress.
This other fortress, the monastery of Mont Saint-Michel, has stood safe from capture for 1,000 years, protected by tides that run faster than galloping horses. Where sinners once bought pardons and indulgences, visitors now buy souvenirs and seafood.
I've heard friends from America talk about old houses. A museum piece, let us say, built in 1850. The house I was born in has a cornerstone laid in 1348. And from my window, I look across the Seine at Notre-Dame de Paris. The Cathedral of Our Lady of Paris started by the son of a poor woodcutter.
Rummaging through these stalls by Notre Dame, I often saw Papa Hemingway in his young and beardless days, and James Joyce. The writers, the dreamers, the eternally curious have always come here, looking for themselves, looking for old art and new artists.
Not all the masterpieces are in museums. All of France is a giant studio in which every artist, wherever he may come from and wherever he may be going, can breathe freely.
Montmartre, where Toulouse-Lautrec and Verlaine, where Van Gogh and Picasso caroused and argued.
Montmartre, the Mount of Martyrs, which pilgrims climbed on their hands and knees.
Are still here, and the painters are still arguing, tradition or abstraction, and every passerby is a critic. 40 million Frenchmen can't be wrong, because each of us has a different opinion about everything.
The fragile geometry of a flower in a plowed meadow, feathers fanning out for flight, these things the hands of the craftsman never forget. Renoir began his career decorating china in a factory, and Georges Braque started as a house painter.
A chef in France can be the peer of a prime minister. Next to eating a good meal, the greatest pleasure is talking about it.
Remember what they say in Burgundy. Lace thy soup with a robust wine, and robust health will be ever thine.
Chevalier de la table ronde, goûtons voir si le vin est bon. Chevalier de la table ronde, goûtons voir si le vin est bon. Goûtons voir, oui, oui, oui. Goûtons voir si le vin est bon. Goûtons voir, oui, oui, oui. Goûtons voir, non, non, non.
When I die, let me lie forever, near a barrel full of wine. When I die, let me lie forever, near a barrel full of wine. Full of wine, yes, 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 full of wine. No, no, no. Near a barrel full of wine.
42 acres of the very choicest vineyards in France are owned and cultivated by the Hospice de Beaune. This paradox of a modern hospital in medieval surroundings is entirely supported by the sale of wine. Neither the rules nor the nuns' robes have changed in 5 centuries.
A meal without wine, say the nuns, is like a day without sunshine. There's never been a shortage of either on the French Riviera, port of call for all birds of passage en route to the sweet life. Is it any wonder that the great and the glamorous have always made this their place in the sun? Henri Matisse, Somerset Maugham, Winston Churchill? Brigitte Bardot.
From surf to snow in one short hour, with the Mont Blanc towering 3 miles into the sky.
icy turrets and arabesques near Chamonix used to be the domain of the mountain climbers exclusively.
Some of us prefer our thrill sitting down. For us, there are cable cars and téléphériques and even helicopters to carry us to the Aiguille du Midi and the glaciers.
Nevertheless, the lure of clambering up a sheer rock wall, which any sensible goat would avoid, continues to attract alpinists from the 5 continents. The novices get their training here in the techniques of rope and piton. While some men pit their endurance against the mountain, others pit themselves against the machine and the clock. 80 of the world's top racing drivers are warming up for that toughest of contests, the 24-hour-long race at Le Mans. I doubt if anything in later life can equal the wonder, glory of this first ride.
Old France is becoming a nation of the young. We've been producing bumper crops of babies since the end of the war.
À Paris, quand un amour fleurit, ça fait pendant des semaines de cœur qui sourit, tout ça parce qu'ils s'aiment à Paris. Au printemps, sur les toits, les girouettes tournent et font les coquettes avec le premier vent qui passe indifférent, nonchalant. Car le vent, quand il vient à Paris, n'a plus qu'un seul souci, c'est d'aller musarder.
À Paris. À Paris, where the Eiffel Tower is your elevator, the riverboats, your private yacht, the banks of the Seine, your backyard.
Ils s'en vont en goguette dans Paris. Et la main dans la main, ils vont sans se frapper, regardant ton chemin si Paris a changé. Il y a toujours des taxis en maraude qui vous chargent en fraude avant le stationnement. Oui,
À Paris, where the art of living leaves room for the art of loafing.
On voit n'importe qui boit n'importe quoi, qui parle avec ses mains, qui est là depuis le matin au café. Il y a la Seine, à n'importe quelle heure, elle a ses visiteurs qui la regardent dans les yeux, ce sont ses amoureux. À la Seine, et à ceux qui ont fait leur lit près du lit de la Seine et qui se lavent à midi tous les jours de la semaine dans la Seine. Et les autres, ceux qui en ont assez parce qu'ils en ont vu trop et qui veulent oublier, alors ils jettent à l'eau.
À Paris, where every café is your parlor, where the whole city is your mansion, and the whole world is your honored guest.
Caravelle sur la Seine. Les ennuis, il n'y en a pas qu'à Paris, il y en a dans le monde entier, oui, mais dans le monde entier, il n'y a pas.
À Paris, where the glittering nightlife of the gay 90s has become all the brighter for the electric lights and the electric ladies of café and cabaret.